Hello, hello, and welcome to this edition of the Law Firm Blueprint. I'm one of your hosts, Jay Ruane, and with me, as always, is my man Seth Price down there in his headquarters, his off-site headquarters, working from home today. Seth, it's been a few weeks. How you doing?
I'm
How you
good.
doing, Seth?
Doing well, doing well. We did not have an episode last week. I got one of those post-camp viruses the kids brought home, just knocked me out. First time since the COVID that just couldn't move.
That's okay. It's okay. I've been slammed myself. For us, we're heading back to school shortly. I've got, tryouts for soccer, tryouts for volleyball. Baseball's going insane around here because Fairfield's in the Little League World Series and crushing it.
But also a whole nother topic is the business of youth travel sports.
Oh, God, yeah.
You talk about it, read about it, and I just put my daughter into one of the leagues. So what the hell?
It really is ruining youth sports.
And look, there's parts that are awesome, but parts, I just saw one family. I'm in Vegas at some C-level law conference. I'm checking into the Golden Nugget because I think that somebody was trying to save a buck. They put their conference there. And at like 1 a.m., I'm checking in, and a family from Bethesda next to me is checking in for their soccer tournament. I'm like,
yeah,
like, have we gone too far?
I mean, honestly, I think we have, but that's another subject for another day. There's a lot to talk about, and I want to talk about my customer service experience 3 weeks or two weeks ago now, and sort of give you some things I experienced and talk through it because, for a lot of us in the fee-for-service criminal defense arena or in the fee-for-service general criminal law, family law, trust and estates, bankruptcy, PI even, they're sort of one-off situations. I mean, there's not a lot of repeat customers compared to other businesses like restaurants, dry cleaners, and the like. It's you got one opportunity to wow them. So let me set this up. So it is 3:00 in the morning. I get picked up by our car service, taking us to the airport because we have a cruise leaving on Saturday. So we're flying in Saturday morning, get on the cruise. I check before I book the flights. This thing has a 99.9% on time. This flight, New York City to Miami, never has a problem. We roll into the airport at 5 a.m. for a 7:30 flight, and all of a sudden, all of our phones go off. Flight canceled. And so I get on the line and start talking to the people, and they say, yeah, we can get you there on Tuesday. I'm like, hey, I got to get there today. What other airline can you put us on? Can you get me out of Newark? Can you get me out of Westchester? Can you get me out of JFK? No. It's all no's. So my wife, while she's waiting in line, she just Googles charter airlines just to see what we can find. Delta is absolutely no help. Just no help. They're just like, well, there's nothing we can do. Have a nice day. And maybe that's because they've gotten too big. They don't care about the individual customer.
Well, or I thought of it this way because I saw this in real time happening. Delta right now, of the major airlines, is the best customer service. So if they're melting down, you got no hope anywhere. American, which I fly all the time, like super elite on this, right? They at night, it is a known thing that they land and hold the plane for over an hour to get a gate. It's like, and they don't care. My point is, this is how crappy an airline it is. So with Delta, which is the premier, I wish that I had status on Delta, that they had enough flights out of my market. If they're melting down, what hope the rest of us have?
Well, and that's part of the problem because air travel is just a nightmare nowadays.
And look, but part of it's they maxed it out. They want to make a buck. It's a business. And the moment, as you know, air traffic control throws its hand up and says, hey, we're overwhelmed. This is the cost to overloading the system. I was on the tarmac headed to Newark. This is when the unreasonable hospitality, right? We read the book. I'm so excited. At literally 4:00, I reserved dinner for me and my parents at 11 Madison. I'm on the tarmac. And I have a backup flight, but we're ready to take off. So I say, you know what? I'm going to have to I cancel my backup flight. As we're about to take off, denied, back to the gate, Newark shut down. And now I've canceled my flight. I can't get on the other flight that was going to LaGuardia and miss it. By the way, not so unreasonable hospitality, gave me a hard time, wanted me to pay for the seats, even though I called them and told them it was an act of God. They closed an airport. But
Right.
another story here. But, I think that with life, we're all making calculated decisions. Do you go that morning? Do you go the night before? This thankfully wasn't a wedding. If you missed it, would have been the
Right.
end of the world. And you showed that for X dollars, this goes to that business theorem I have, right? Money solves almost every problem. Few shekels, you were able to save the vacation, which not everybody could do.
So what happened for those in the audience? You already know the answer to this question. So what happened is, my wife calls. She finds a charter guy who's like, I can find you a flight. Can you get to Teterboro? I call my limo company. He's like, yeah, my guy's still on site. He wasn't picking somebody up for a couple of hours. He'll just swing back around and take you to Teterboro. I mean, it's 15 minutes from LaGuardia to Teterboro at 4 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. They drop us off at Teterboro at a hangar. We have no flight. We have nothing. I got this person from Monarch Jets who's trying to find us a way to get down there. So, it's 9 o'clock. Hey, we got to be wheels up by noon if we're going to make this. 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. We call Ubers to get home. Uber shows up. Phone rings to my wife. We got a plane. We got a pilot. They'll be there in a half hour. You're good to go. I got to cancel the Uber, crush my rating. So I threw the guy a couple $100 so he didn't crush me. And so we chartered a plane to take all 8 of us down to Miami and get on. We literally get on the boat with 5 minutes left before the gangway goes up.
Yes.
Like, to the point where staff was grabbing our bags saying, you got to get these through security right now. You got to go. You got to run. Like, we're running on the gangway. But what the difference is, because Delta doesn't care about the individual consumer,
or they care as much as they can at scale.
As much as they can at scale, they just said there's nothing we can do. Now, this other company, higher price tag, of course, but we got taken care of. They pulled the car onto the tarmac.
Of course, but that's apples and oranges. And frankly, it reminds me in law school of that example where somebody goes on safari to be married and they come back and the photos are ruined during development. For those of you watching, right, you used to have film that went to a dark room. If you left the light on, you ruined it. So, and I remember, what do you owe if they screwed up your wedding photos? And it's like, if you went to Photomat, you got a new roll of film for $7.
Right.
If you went to a place where you paid a premium, $300 to have it developed instead of $7 at Photomat, you would end up with possibly the cost of restaging the wedding. Right. Are you paying the premium for it? When we're buying basic economy seats and we're doing it, what can we expect at that number within reason? And I also have, as a frequent flyer, I have again, there are different reasons flights get canceled, but I also always want to make sure that somebody doesn't have the thumb on the scale of get this in the air despite safety issues. And but it's a balance. It's hard. In the moment, you don't want to think about that, but right, it's a systemic thing. If air traffic controller says, hey, we can't handle this, what is it political? Then you'd be upset. If it's really like, this is too much volume for what we're dealing with, living in DC, we're kind of sensitive to too much volume on an approach.
Yeah, I mean, we were told it was a crew timeout.
That's the most frustrating. I mean,
well, it was the first flight of the day. There's no way it was a crew timeout. Right. That was their excuse for whatever. Maybe they didn't have the right crew there. I don't know.
I'll give you the continuum.
So now I'm buying into a private plane.
God bless. So
let me finish. So our friend Justin McShane out of Pennsylvania, he needed something to challenge him. He went and got a pilot's license. He got his plane delivered to him last Friday, and he flew it up to here to Bridgeport to see me. I met him for breakfast, and while he's in the hangar prepping for fuel to get put in his plane so he can fly back home, he sees a thing, $200,000. You can buy a quarter share in a 8-person citation Cessna. And so I talked to the guy, and if I get the right cases to come in later this year, I may just buy into this because I'm going to start traveling more with kids going to college, and I want to travel more. And to avoid having to deal with any of those risks, it may be worth it to me. And planes don't really depreciate. They just gut them out and put in new avionics.
I know more about this than I should, because a friend of mine sold his business, bought himself one of these 5-seater Cessnas. And is it Cessna with the parachute?
That's the Cessna.
Yeah,
That's what
right,
McShane has.
right.
I would be buying into a
Bigger one,
a
yeah.
Citation, a bigger
right.
one that can
So
fit
the
8
deal
people.
is, it's an amazing tax deal because the tax laws allow you to depreciate the entire thing day one. However,
Yes,
it pretty much means, if you go down that route, from a friend who just went through this, who's a former Air Force pilot who's now leasing it to my friend who was an airline, Hopscotch Air, if you're in the area, that may be the intermediate step of private versus
okay,
commercial. Hopscotch Air, do a little commercial for him here. It's like probably 4-passenger plus the pilot, limited luggage, but it's your own little on-demand
right,
piece. Those, if you go that route, every 5 years you need to buy a new one, which is fine because but you're in for life. You're never getting rid of it. Like,
right.
meaning you can't, the moment you do, you're paying back the taxes because you've taken the depreciation. So it is a hamster wheel for sure. But, your story resonates because I'm not a car guy. Grew up in New York. If I could Uber everywhere, I would. So finally, the minivan for my wife is done. And we need to figure out, what do you get to replace the minivan? And, we want to go electric. And it's interesting because, walked into a bunch of different dealerships. You walk into a Kia dealership and it's literally like Spirit Air, right? There are a bunch of guys around. They're all young. They barely understand. I mean, they're nice people, but they're not sophisticated salespeople. There's basically a look online, see what you want, I'll take your order. Pretty much. I'm exaggerating, but not by a lot. Flip side was, there's an equally priced Mercedes with
The EQB.
the EQB.
Yeah.
With a mini, most of them are 2 rows. There's one version that has a mini 3rd row where it can be 5 or less. So
Right.
Perfect for kids. Wife didn't want that. I actually am now looking at it. I need an electric something. So looking at that seriously for the 2 row. But the piece that I found fascinating was at an equal price point. Now, granted, there are a lot of Mercedes that are a lot more expensive, and they're just getting you in at the lower dollar, and they're going to, they expect us to be spending the 6 figures before long. That said, it was such a different experience.
Sure.
I mean, it was, one was the St. Regis and the other was the Hampton Inn. And it just, fascinating. Like watching those little differences. I mean, some of it's institutional of how you build your showroom and your facility.
Of course.
And some of it is the people there. One was, recent, I'd like to say college grads, but most likely, based on the people I met, junior college grads who were hustling and very good salespeople-ish versus customer service centric sales ambassadors. And it was just fascinating to see that. Now, just like the difference between the private, that's what made me think of it, and the, and Delta, there's more meat on the bone at,
Right.
on one, and probably to be able to justify it. But it's clearly something very important to that brand that when you walked in there, I was like, I had, it's down the Mercedes thing is literally walking distance to my old house. And I had never really spent time in it, never being a car guy, but oh my God. I mean, I just go there for the amenities on a Saturday afternoon. It was like like an Industrious or WeWorks.
Yeah. Good stuff. I'm surprised you don't have the G-Wagon. It's over 6,000 pounds. You get 100% depreciation year one. There's tactical moves you can make with that G-Wagon. I can see you rolling in with the G-Wagon, with the matte black finish and the dark tints. Super Seth.
Yeah, that's on brand. Although I had the EQB, and this is the world that has blown my mind. I wish there was somebody who could get you that understood this stuff. I don't know what New York, Connecticut are like, but New Jersey and Virginia, you pay if you want to lease, which has tax advantages as a business owner. You, when you lease, you have to pay the tax on the entire value as you lease, and then pay that over the period. And that's not. I mean, it's not good but the tax is not crazy in Maryland, so it sort of balances out. What was fascinating is I was looking at one of the Polestars. and their special is on a 27-month lease. But if you try to front end load taxes on a 27-month lease, that's massive.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm like, I got to somehow figure out a way of leasing this in a jurisdiction that doesn't have the upfront tax load. Otherwise, you're screwed.
If you are in the market, there's there's an influencer, I guess you could say, I follow. He comes up in my feed all the time. We should probably have him on the show. It's really interesting. He is a Mercedes dealer. He's the sales manager at a Mercedes dealership. I'm not sure where it is. The guy's handle is at Benz's and Bow Ties, because he wears a bow tie every day. Young guy, and he talks through the deals with the online. Like on camera, he'll talk through the deals with his salesperson. Hey, this is how we can structure it. This gets them to the price they want, but they're going to have to do this, that, the other thing. You should reach out to him and get the link in his description, and because it would be worth it for you to have that link, because there's a ton of followers, and I love watching.
This is what's fascinating. I've bought cars before, not often, but like I love it because I basically figure out what I want and then send an email to 12 places. And that's
what I did with my latest car.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's no better way. If you're watching and you haven't done this, it's a game changer. Once you know and you say, I'm ready to buy, the numbers change. I'll buy today. What's your best deal? Can you beat this? It's a real thing. What's fascinating on the lease, which I just, again, had never played that game before, was that there are only so many buttons, right? There's price. There's an interest rate that you don't care about, but they care about, that they're using. There's the value of the car after the 3 years. Again, you don't set it. It's their artificial number. Right. And, a couple other things, but essentially it is such a black box that I've gotten away from caring. It sounds awful, but it sort of goes counter to what we deal with in the law firm negotiating part, which is you got to just almost pick a number. And I don't care what they call it. There's a tax credit for this. There's this. I don't care. This is my number. You guys do your work. If you want to sell it to me, and it almost flips the power on its head, saying, this is what I have. You got to work with me. No, this is my number. If you want it, it's there. If you don't, that's fine too. And it's because all of that stuff is interesting, those videos and this and that, but that's your business and I see this over and over again. The more I look at business is what is an artificial paradigm that you're working within, and that we start to use that language. And some of the better coaching programs have those languages that people are using. And once you start to adopt it, once you say, hey, I got, it's the car, has this depreciation on it, or this is the interest rate, or whatever it is, within reason, you lose control of that. And we're now at the point where, you almost, the only way to regain that control is say, I don't care. That's your rules. You figure out how to play the game. I'm not going to learn how to play your game.
Right.
And it's really empowering, I feel, once you're able to give it back to them with, oh, there's an extra $2,500 incentive. Great. I don't care what you call it. I just want this number. And that has been, because normally it's just this black box that none of us can see inside of.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I mean, obviously when you have purchasing power, when your firm is at a place where it's paying for it and the money's going to be there, and you have the credit score to go with it. I mean, I remember the very first car I bought was to commute to law school, and I had no purchasing power. And my $256 a month, I went in saying I can't pay more than $250, and I remember it came out to be $256.97, and I paid that for 4 years to buy my Geo Prism, right? But now that I struggled with. But then now I was just sending off an email to somebody saying, I know I want the Yukon XL. I hit a couple of dealers and I said, what can you do for me? And this is where I want to be. And guess what? A couple of weeks later, I get a call. I got what you want. I got it at the price point you want. And so I never went into the showroom. It was all by email.
And they delivered me the car. I ended up buying. We ended up buying the Kia EV9. Not the sexiest. Amazing. We love it. It is. I wish they made a two-row version of it, because their EV6 is not the same. The EV9 is beautiful, but I literally did the whole deal by text.
Yeah.
And I was like, because every minute I spend with them costs me money. I don't want to, I'll
Right.
sit there watching you need a driver's license. Here it is. You need the, insurance. Here it is. Like, but what, it's similar to when you sell a house. Sitting at the closing table, in my opinion, only costs you money. They can only take, like, to me, give me documents. I'll sign them. I don't want to be part of it.
Oh
Like,
yeah, I never went to. I've never gone to any of my closings. I'm buying another place up in Vermont in a couple of weeks, and I've already let the
No, but
lawyers know.
when you're buying a place, in theory, you could have an advantage. If you're there, the seller is there, you get some sort of concession, potentially, right? But when you're selling, it can only cost you money.
So I've heard of people showing up at those closings and being like, "Yeah, I know we agreed on $100,000. I'm going to give you 95." And everyone's at the closing, and the lawyers are scrambling to adjust the numbers, and people are just being it to nudge and get a little bit more.
Exactly, which is that's exactly the point why I don't show up to the. I mean, I don't want to be part of that circus.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so the other thing I want to talk about is, and it's all over everybody's feeds, it's Mr. Alex Hormozy and his book launch.
What that guy?
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere, and I've been following him for a while. They've a very elite group. They've invited me out to several times. I've just never pulled the trigger to sit in Vegas. But wow, has that guy mastered the art of attention?
Well, here's the thing, and this is the thing that I want to sort of kind of, I guess, push back on. You know who he is. I know who he is. A lot of people listening know who he is and what they do. I got to tell you right now, I got buddies who own restaurants. They have no idea who he is. My mom and dad, no idea who he is. Even my wife, no idea who he is. And she's married to an entrepreneur. He has amazing attention in the space where he needs to be. But he is not
just
everything to everybody. I think Tony Robbins may have more.
He transcended it because he has a consumer-facing product that's not just entrepreneurs.
Right.
And he's also decades. He had a tape set. I remember talking to my uncle about in the 90s, and he was already established then. He probably comes from. So look, this guy's come, this guy has come, super fast,
right?
Into the, Gary V-esque, arena of entrepreneurs, but he knows who he wants, and those people know who he is.
And that's the point. Like, he has us in his web. We may not be food yet, but he's got his web. He's got his hooks into us.
I got the book. I didn't buy the 8,000 books, but I bought the single book.
I bought the single book too. I probably shouldn't have bought the single book because now I have at least a dozen people
I got
in my group.
The free one. The free, I paid shipping and handling, if that means.
That's what I did. Yeah. That's what I did. But now I have at least a dozen people in my friend group saying, I have 200 books.
No, but I still think that comes with the shipping and handling.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
And you know why? Because he wants the email. Now he wants the email address and physical address of all the people that these books are being sent to.
Yeah, but
like if you had the 200 books and you want to send one of them to me, you'd have to give him my email address and my address. So now he's building his list.
Look, but and you're paying $10, which means you're covering the cost of printing and shipping.
Mm-hmm.
Done wholesale. Those books are $5 a piece, maybe. And I haven't seen it yet. It's probably coming today. And the shipping is probably $5 in volume.
Yeah. It's really sort of, it was an amazing use of knowing your audience, giving them what they want, which is, I want extras, I want scripts, I want, the ideas that I can put into place, and
leveraging FOMO.
Yeah. I mean, it's really. I mean, maybe we should apply some of that to the law firm blueprint somehow. I don't know how we could, but it really, really worked and got a lot of people to spend money that, may have been over their normal budget, but they wanted to.
People that I know who bought the numbers of books to get access.
And
what's crazy is you want access for $5,000. You too. I mean, granted, it was an application thing. I have legit businesses, but you can. You too can go and sit there and let him work on your business with you. And I've liked the way he's operated compared to a lot of the get rich quick guys out there. that I feel like he's building a pyramid to see the deals he wants, is my impression, while at the same time realizing that if you don't build the attention this way, you know, there's nobody in our extended circle that is not aware of what he's up to.
Right. So my point being, folks, if you're listening to this and you are one of those ones who bought bulk so that you could get that time with Alex and Layla and their team, please reach out to us. Let us know. We'd love to have you on the show to talk about the whole process of what you went through when you went and did the sit down with them, and you know how they opened your eyes, things that you were disappointed with. I'd love to talk to somebody who's going to attend that, and I'm sure we know somebody in our extended circle who's going to be there.
Absolutely, and I feel, you know, had the opportunity before it was all that, and was just like, hey, not another trip to Vegas.
Well, okay, so that's the thing. So what conferences are coming up that, you know, it's
it's the
question. End of August. There's usually a crush before the end of the year.
So what do you got? A lot of stuff. I'll try to give you a top of my head. You got Fireproof has a user conference as well as a conference for everybody else. First week of September, we'll be back up. You had lawyer.com in Vegas. Fireproof will be in Detroit. So lawyer.com in Vegas, the Fountain Blue. I think Nalini will be out there and speaking. We have Mickey and Chad Accelerate, double your fee. We have John Fisher's Mastermind Experience.
Are you going to be so I can be down there for that?
Be there? Awesome. And we're going to do that pre-day that we did last year at BluShark. Andrew Finkelstein kicking off. McCready, we got Jay Ruane. We got, you know, my intake person now runs a 30-person intake team, is going to, she rarely speaks and she's very, very good. So we have a whole bunch of really high-end, excellent people for this. What else do we got? We have, we have our buddies from the lunch hour marketing
yes.
Now, why they put it over the Jewish holidays, I'm not sure, but they're doing their lunch hour marketing for, like, I think it's aimed at CMOs, which I think is brilliant because I think it's an untapped market. What am I missing? I feel like there's something else. Then coming after that, we have MTMP, but there is no shortage of pretty cool September happenings, and glad to hear you're going to be down in DC because it's always good to.
I'm going to be in Chicago for a law conference for DUI DLA, and I'm going to be speaking to that one in early September. And then the only other thing I have on my horizon after Fisher's in DC is the Best Era AI era thing in Charleston in November.
Is that related to the Case Status Conference? Because the Case Status Conference is another conference coming up.
I know it's at Case Status's headquarters. It may back up or be in front of the Case Status one. Awesome. But this is it's going to be interesting. The lineup of the speakers are really good, and it's all about how to integrate AI into a law practice, which is something that I'm really getting jazzed about.
Hopefully, have you and McCready in DC if you're going to make it down there. We'll have you kick off perhaps on that, because to me that is the sticking point for me. You know, I got a legacy firm. We have AI. It's being used here and there, but it's where to leverage it to get the most bang for your buck, because you can't be everywhere at once. And there are lots of great ideas, but what's gonna actually drive a better ROI, a better profit margin sooner than later.
So one of the things for us, at least, is, and this is something that I'm working on in the third and fourth quarters, is our people spend a ton of time just wasting on hold with courthouses, with state agencies, DMV, that type of thing, and that's the biggest time suck. So we're actually trying to program an agent that can make the phone call and request the things that we need to request and engage with the clerk who answers the phone and say, I need the following court dates, or I need this information. That would be really helpful to us. And some of these agents that are out there, we're using agents now to do interviews of our clients after they retain, not necessarily on the intake side, but on the bio and goal side.
We know that there are good, there are at least a dozen options on the intake side. I know it's going to get there, and it also depends on what level you're like. if you're selling a $2 widget and you don't care if you lose the phone call because there'll be another phone call, when you're selling the more expensive widget, it just makes me very, very nervous.
I agree. And I mean, we actually had an AI agent that we were working on the first half of this year, the first quarter.
Your own,
and
this is
we were using a service,
the
Air AI, and it just was not good.
Sorry, which one were you using?
We were using Air AI.
Which is the Falkowitz one?
Oh, that's Capture Now.
Yeah. And how's that working?
That's great. I've been using that for 3 years.
Yeah, what are you using it overnight, or what are you using it for?
We use it for after hours. And it's been it's been
and that's
phenomenal.
where the lesser cost, and that your answering service isn't great to begin with, so the bar is lower.
Right. But I think there is a role for AI as your phone tree, where it could answer your call, tap into your CRM, give clients, if they want, what's my next court date, what's my lawyer's email address, that type of stuff. That could be done by AI, and I'm sure that's coming.
It's coming. It's like everything else, It's and look, what I've always admired about you, I think it's your strength, greatest strength and weakness probably, is that you're not going to just buy the off the shelf. You're going to figure out how to do it yourself. I think there are instances where it's been huge for you.
Because a lot of things I want to do, they don't exist yet.
Exactly.
I had website chat when it was staffed by like a person in my office. That was at least 25 years ago.
Right.
But that now it's ubiquitous, right? And it's chatbots and all that stuff. So I tend to do stuff, 6 to 18 months before anybody else does. But with AI, things are moving so quickly. 3 years from now, we're going to be answering to our robot overlords because the stuff is moving so fast.
Last thing, we got to land the plane. Let's see. The question for you: you have thoughts or opinions on the Scorpion sole exclusive partnership with Clio? That seemed odd to me. I'm biased. I'm not a super fan of the work of Scorpion. For an open source group like Clio that seemed to have made its name on being sort of the ability to integrate everybody in every space, seemed like an odd move.
Well, to me, it just sounds like venture capital says we want more return and we're going to get a piece of everybody that we connect through to Scorpion. So let's take that money. It doesn't sound like it serves the solo, very small firm that,
or anybody. Is one size fits all for anybody on anything?
No, it's not. But Clio is like where a solo goes when they first set up shop, right?
Correct. No, understood. And then they're basically, I think my gut is the deal's meant the other way, which is Clio is the darling of Wall Street. They've had 30-35% returns year over year, and at some point that gets scary, where you need a new group of people to be out there. And Scorpion, if nothing else, has been the juggernaut in sales. And you now
right, but they also lock people in with proprietary platforms, and that's like the worst thing you could possibly do for any growing business, is to be locked in, because you're going to have to scrape all that and build from scratch. And it's just, I'm sure BluShark has taken over Scorpion sites, and it's probably just a mess trying to do that.
It is.
But then Scorpion also seems to, I don't know, I haven't dealt with them in the last 2 years, but when I talked to them, they were pay-per-click forward. Right. And a lot of their time and attention and money went into pay-per-click, not necessarily into link building, into good site architecture, not into content. And as a result, you're just going to constantly pay inflated pay-per-click prices. And the question then becomes, if Scorpion is a proprietary platform, if it's not doing the things like content and links, are Scorpion sites going to show up in the LLM's results? Because LLM results aren't making a difference, and if it just seems to me like you may be hurting yourself long term by just doing the whole, well, I'll just buy one package. How many lawyers do we know bought FindLaw because Martindale told them you should buy FindLaw?
What was the FindLaw?
Or West,
or the cute girl who was selling them Westlaw.
Right. Yeah, it was just said, oh, and by the way, we can put up your 5-page website and that will be your home on the internet.
I do need to fly, but I interviewed people that were Martindale, originally selling the Martindale websites. And I didn't realize this. The Martindale website, they were talking about they were talking about $5,000. I'm like, 5,000 a month? Oh, no, 5,000 a year. Their product was essentially $400 a month for their website. No, nothing wrong with it. I'm just saying it shows you that world. So we go talk. We started with sales and customer service, landing with the fact that old model of just get people to sign for anything is sort of the piece that I think lawyers got to watch out for, which is that process, absolutely. Which is what is going to get you to the next level and not locking yourself into something that will prevent you from moving.
And the biggest takeaway, if you're based in Texas and you need a private jet, call Ross at Riata Air. They are fantastic. Customer service is out the box. He just happened to be at Teterboro for me and accommodated us and got us to Miami. We flew at 40,000 feet, 500 miles an hour. We were cruising. We got there with a few minutes to spare, but we made our vacation. And then, of course, the icon of the seas, the water slide broke while we were on it.
I hope you landed the client.
I wish I did. I did. I should have sought him out. All right, that's going to do it for us, folks. Thanks so much for being with us. We're glad to be back, and we're glad to have you with us. Of course, you can take us on the go wherever you want to go by subscribing to the Law Firm Blueprint podcast. You can get it wherever you get your podcast, and of course, you can catch us live on LinkedIn, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, and of course, live in our Facebook group, the Law Firm Blueprint. That's going to do it for me. I'm Jay Ruane. He is Seth Price. Thanks for having us. Bye for now.